Good morning, good evening, good night. We're watching this transmission. It is I, Mike Martins. Thanks for joining me. I got a really important message sent to me, and it's actually from a cardinal that I have met personally in Guinea-Bissau. This cardinal's from French Guinea. I'll show you guys where this is. It's kind of important to learn a bit of geography. Here's Guinea-Bissau here, which is Portuguese Guinea, and this is Guinea, which is French Guinea. Okay, now my dad lived here for many years, and here the Portuguese were here for 500 plus years, and the French were here for like I think 90 years. They just went in there and did a lot of bad things, you know, but the Portuguese built a lot of infrastructure here in Guinea-Bissau. So I met this cardinal there when I was working on projects in Guinea-Bissau, and it's a powerful one. And most of my life, and I'm going to be really straight up with you guys, most of my life I always thought the biggest form of modern day slavery, because on my Portuguese YouTube channel I call it moderno escravação, means modern day slavery. I've always believed that modern day slavery is debt, holding debt, taking on piles of debt and thinking you're young and you can pay it back and you'll never get sick and you'll always be there to pay that back for the rest of your life pretty much. It's a modern day form of slavery. But something started to change my mind. Cardinal Robert Sarah put this out about a week and a half ago, and it's a very powerful message. And Cardinal Robert Sarah, mass migration is a new form of slavery. That kind of took the wind out of my sails when I saw that, and I'm like, whoa. So this is a big deal. Cardinal Robert Sarah, Prefect of the Congregation for the Divine Worship and the Discipline of the Sacraments, last week told a French publication that mass migration is a new form of slavery, and it is a exegesis to the Word of God to promote migration. God never wanted these rifts, according to Fox News. Cardinal Sarah was born in French Guyana, now Guinea, or I call it Guinea, I'm sorry guys, was ordained to the priesthood in 1969 and made a cardinal by Pope Benedict in 2010. He has often been discussed as a possible future candidate for Pope. Last week, speaking in Morocco, Pope Francis criticized those who wish to limit migration. Cardinal Sarah's remarks are a challenge to the Pope Francis' personal support for mass migration, a stance which has defined his papacy. So this cardinal here, I believe he is for the true Catholic. He is for the true Word of God, the true, you know what I'm saying? What it means to be Roman Catholicism. I think that's what this cardinal is, and he's a pleasant person to speak to and everything, and sincere, you know. Cited the example of Poland. So this is in his words, okay, guys? Cited the example of Poland, a Catholic country that has strict immigration policies, and said he had urged it not to sacrifice its Polish and Catholic identities on the altar of technocratic and a stateless Europe. She is free to tell Europe that everyone was created by God to be placed in a specific place. With its culture, traditions, and history, he told the paper, this current desire to globalize the world by suppressing nations' specificities is pure madness. It is. It's absolute madness. And coming from him, it's very powerful. And he is in line to be Pope, or in line to be one of the candidates to be Pope. And I am very disappointed with, you know, with what's happened in the... I'm a Roman Catholic myself, and I'm very disappointed in what happened with a lot of things. And there's evil in there's a vice in everything. There's evil everywhere, whether it's in government, whether it's in religion, whether it is at the office, whether it is on your way home driving, whether it is when you're out shopping. There's evil everywhere. And it's up to us to fight our temptations or whatnot, or ways of, you know, I'm not going to preach. I'm just saying. And migration is illegal. Migration is the movement of people is illegal, because that means we have open borders. And open borders has been a thing that I think the Clintons were protesting for the longest time, and then flip-flopped 7-8 times, and then kind of no and yes and no and yes. So I want to know what you guys think. I did a whole video on the amount of migrants going into Australia. I think it was 110,000 in the month of February 2019. And now Cardinal Robert Sarah is basically trying to preserve nations and keeping them who they are. And I've brought this up many times, right? I'll say it again. So the reason why Portugal is Portugal, Australia is Australia, Brazil is Brazil, and America is America, there's a specific reason. It's not because they put borders there. The borders were put there because Portugal, okay, is Portugal because the people that live there, let's go north to Portugal. Portugal is Portugal because the people that live there are Portuguese. Why isn't this little part on the top here part of Spain? Because the people that live in that little part are Portuguese. The borders were put here. Why? Because the people that defended that border were Portuguese. So that's why the border has been placed here. This is the oldest border in Europe. It's the Portuguese border is over 1,000 years old. It's the oldest border in Europe. Now, that's why Portugal is Portugal. Because the people that defended it and the people that gave their lives to it were Portuguese. That's why it's called Portugal. They defended, the Spanish defended and unified all these states, because when Portugal was formed, there was like 11 countries in Spain. Spain was nothing. It had, oh my God, they had so many countries. They had Leon. They had, I think part of the Ottoman Empire came down here. Then you had up here, you had Castile was down here. Then you had Leon was up here, the Leon Empire. Then you had, I think Valencia was its own territory. You know, then you had Catalonia was its own territory too, it was its own province. So Spain started unifying after the Muslim stronghold was taken down. The last Muslim stronghold, and that was Alhambra. And then the Spanish basically unified Spain in the late 14 and early 1500s. And the same thing with France. So now, this is Spain because the people that live here are Spanish. Then you have a little bit of disruptions, like with countries like, for example, Catalonia, I think it's over here, wants to separate from Spain because they have their own language, their own flag, their own, national anthem, and they want independence. Should Spain give Catalonia independence? Absolutely. Why? Because the people that live there are Catalan. Right? That's how borders are formed. The Franks, France didn't exist till way later. They were called the Franks. And they had all kinds of countries in here. Oh my God. So if you look at an old map of Europe from about 1,000 years ago, you'll see what I'm talking about. But I want to throw this out there. So what happens when you take people from Spain and drop them in Portugal? Nothing really, because they're both Roman Catholic. They both pretty much use the same currency. They both almost speak the same language, kind of like a 30%, 40% the same. So not too bad. What happens if you take someone from Portugal and drop them in Italy? Nothing really massive will happen. They will just basically take up the Italian way, the maybe eating at different times, different food, different cuisine, different ways of entertaining. Fine. But then what happens when you grab somebody from Bangladesh, okay, and you throw them into any one of these neighboring countries here? I don't think you have much of a trouble. Same thing. But when you take someone from Bangladesh and you drop them, let's say, in Namibia, well, there's going to be a little bit of conflict with language, with a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? So, or taking somebody from Sudan and dropping them in Ireland. Huge barriers. There's a huge barrier between Portugal and Ireland. If a Portuguese went to Ireland, it'd be kind of tough. Language, a lot of things, you know. You're still in Europe, but it's kind of a little bit different. But imagine somebody from Botswana being dropped in Cuba and being migrated to Cuba. It'd be tough. It'd be very tough, and it would be very hard for people to simulate with Cubans. See, I spent 6 months in Cuba, but it was different. I simulated. When I went to Cuba, I went to the mentality that I'm Cuban. I want to know what it is to be Cuban. And I went to almost every state in Cuba except Guantanamo Bay by motorcycle when I was single and young. And that was my thing, you know, like traveling and becoming and seeing the music, the food, the thing. And I was invited to thousands of house parties in all the places I've been to here. Anyways, guys, I look forward to reading your comments later. Let me know what you guys think. Migration, mass movement of people, and how is it affecting your country? Comment below.